He was born Ioseb Jugashvili in a small Georgian town in 1878, the son of a shoemaker and a deeply religious mother. A sickly child, young Ioseb survived smallpox and beatings from an alcoholic father. But by his teenage years, he found comfort not in faith but in revolution. By the early 1900s, he had joined Lenin's Bolsheviks, changed his name to Joseph Stalin, Man of Steel, and began climbing the ranks through propaganda and being cunning and ruthless. After Lenin's death in 1924, Stalin moved quickly to consolidate power, outmaneuvering rivals like Trotsky and quietly reshaping the Soviet Union in his own terrifying image. With Marxist ideals as a mask, Stalin launched sweeping reforms to industrialize the nation. But these reforms came at a monstrous human cost. In the late 1920s and early 30s, Stalin ordered the forced collectivization of farmland. Millions of independent farmers, so-called kulaks, were branded as enemies of the state. Their land was seized, their families deported to labor camps, and many were executed. Entire villages disappeared. Then came the Holodomor, a man-made famine in Soviet Ukraine. Grain was taken from starving farmers to feed Stalin's ambitions. By 1933, over 6 million people had died. Their suffering, long denied, is now recognized by many historians as a genocide. Stalin ruled through terror. His secret police, the NKVD, carried out mass purges, executing perceived enemies and filling the gulags. In the words of Alexander Solzhenitsyn, a survivor and chronicler of the Soviet camps, "A single death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic." Solzhenitsyn later estimated that over 60 million people died as victims of Soviet communism during the 20th century. Not all under Stalin, but his reign marked its darkest chapter. Even in war, Stalin's cruelty stood out. In World War II, he made devastating decisions, like purging his own military leaders before Nazi Germany invaded. He treated his soldiers as expendable, sacrificing millions to halt Hitler. Yet somehow, he emerged from the war, not as a villain, but as one of the victors. By the early 1950s, Stalin grew increasingly paranoid. Ministers feared him, but not enough to save him. When Stalin suffered a stroke in 1953, he was reportedly left alone for hours before help arrived. Whether through negligence or intention, he died in silence, abandoned by the very men who once feared his every word. His death didn't end the pain. The Soviet system he helped create would linger for decades, but the full truth of his terror was only beginning to be understood. Today, memorials and survivors remain to remind the world of the hidden cost of unchecked power and of the millions who died under Stalin's iron rule. So it turned out that communism was not a particularly great idea. The same outcomes have happened pretty much everywhere it has been tried. When you're counting the bodies in the tens of millions, your point has been made.